panel, a great team of fundraising and leadership experts in the nonprofit sector. So thank you all. If you could mute, that would be great. That would be awesome. Allie, if you don't mind helping us with that. I'm going to do some quick introductions. We do have 90 minutes if we need it. So if you need to hop off sooner, we are recording this and we will follow up with the recording to everyone who's registered. So you will have access to that if you do have to hop off. So I'm seeing some familiar faces and some familiar names as well as some new ones. So welcome everybody here. My name is David Chatham. I'm with Angel Oak Creative. We have a great panel here, a great team, and I'm going to make some really quick introductions and then let them tell you a little bit about themselves. First of all, I want to shout out Allie Salas from Angel Oak. She is the one that helped promote this and helped really get the word out and pull it all together. So thank you, Allie, for that work.
Thank
Uh,
you, Allie.
yeah. On our panel today, we have Lisa Hyatt, Overture International. She is executive director. Overture does work in Haiti, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about that. We have Lizzie Modern, who is managing partner at Moss and Ross, one of Angel Oak's favorite partners, and also just a great group to focus on fundraising strategy and other types of work around leadership. And then we have Kimberly Burrows, Chief Development Officer with Interfaith Food Shuttle. Both Overture and Interfaith are clients of Angel Oak, kind of full disclosure there. But we are really excited about the work that they do and the way that they approach their fundraising. And I think we thought that they could really add some great insights into this conversation. We also have with Angel Oak, we have Lauren Williams. Lauren, thank you for being here. And we have Daphne Thompson with them, and I'll let them introduce themselves as well. So, Lisa, why don't we start with you with a quick
Okay.
introduction?
All right. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining. My name's Lisa Hyatt. I'm the co-founder and executive director with Overture International. We serve families and communities in southern Haiti through child protection, family strengthening, and community empowerment.
All right. Thank you. Kimberly, you want to go next?
Sure. Well, good afternoon, and it is an honor to be here today. As Dave mentioned, I'm the Chief Development Officer at Interfaith Food Shuttle. We are a member of the Feeding America network. We like to say we're more than just a food bank. Our mission is to feed our neighbors, um, grow healthy foods, and teach self-sufficiency by cultivating innovative approaches to end hunger. So excited to be here today and to not only hear from the panel, but hear from you as well.
Great. Lizzie, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Lizzie Modern. It's good to see some familiar faces. I'm a managing partner at Moss and Ross. I've been with the firm for about 12 years and spent 15 years working in development in nonprofits. So I only know the nonprofit space. We work exclusively with nonprofits in North Carolina to provide fundraising and capacity building resources, which can look like lots of different things depending on what's needed, but we work really hard to be creative in our approach and very hands-on.
Yeah. Daphne, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm not on mute, right?
Nope, we hear you.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Daphne Thompson. I'm with Angel Oak Creative. Pretty sure you all know what our mission is, but in a nutshell, our mission is to help you all tell the world about yours and spread the good news. Thank you for being the heroes on the ground. We're excited to lean in today and appreciate you inviting me on the panel. I am technically the director of BS at Angel Oak Creative. David Chatham gave me that title. It stands for business success, just so everybody knows. But he loves telling everybody that I'm the director of business success. So, anyways, had to throw that out there real quick, just so you knew who our moderator really was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you. And Daphne's role is she is the client success manager, senior client success manager with Overture. So she's
Yes.
intimately involved day to day with that. So Lauren, next.
Yeah, hey everybody. Lauren Williams, kind of like Lizzie. I've really only ever known the nonprofit world for the last 15 or so years, working in and around nonprofits, specifically in development work, and came to Angel Oak close to 4 years ago to kind of help bring a strategic fundraising communication lens to the work that they do or that we do here. And I get to work with Kimberly from Food Shuttle on all their annual needs and campaigns and strategies, and just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for contributing to this and all that you do for our community. Today, the conversation is really about the changing landscape, the current landscape of fundraising and philanthropy and what that looks like. I feel like we could have this conversation every year, right? What's new, what's different? I think this year for many folks and what we're hearing from our clients is this year feels different. There's a lot going on from federal funding issues to changing in the giving attitudes and environment in our world today, and just how are we navigating that? What does that look like? How do we prepare for what's next? So that's a conversation we're going to have today. Our team and our clients and Lizzie are all certainly steeped in this conversation, so we look forward to that. We encourage you to ask questions. We welcome questions during the presentation, during the conversation. You can do that by either entering it into the chat, or if you raise your hand, Allie is going to be helping us keep an eye on those things. So thank you all for that, and please, enter your questions in. We'd love to answer those and have a good conversation there. So the first thing I want to ask the panel is, what is going on, right? What is happening in the fundraising sector? It's a weird, crazy world out there. So, I don't know. Kimberly, you want to maybe start with that and give your thoughts on what's happening?
I'd be happy to. So, what I had left off in my introduction is I have also been in the nonprofit world for 20 plus years, having started many, many years ago as a volunteer with the American Cancer Society, and then have worked for national organizations as well as state organizations, and now here at Food Shuttle. And so I have seen a lot of ups and downs. I'm the person whose very first gala ever, the invitations went out on September 10th, 2001. So
Oh,
that started my special event career.
wow.
Having seen recessions, having seen the pandemic, but I would agree, things feel different right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's donors are stepping up, but there's limited resources. And unfortunately, I know here at the Food Shuttle, we're seeing a higher need for our services than even during the pandemic, because gas prices are rising, costs of living is rising, wages are not rising, and it's putting a strain on our donors, and in turn it's putting a strain on our corporate donors. So we're having to get creative, and we're trying to do less is more, which is, I think, something all nonprofits do all the time, but it feels like right now that's even more crucial.
Mm,
So really, as far as our team, we're looking at what can we tweak? How can we change messaging? How can we really resonate with the donors that can give right now? And I think this is where relationships have really come across, because we've been able to lean on some of our most consistent donors, and we've seen them step up to help cover the gap. But who knows what the future holds?
yeah. Thank you. Lisa, are you seeing similar things? Anything different?
Well, in Haiti, we're constantly dealing with the tension between, the response to the crises versus long-term empowerment initiatives. And as you all know, Haiti, it continually grows in the crises, and at any time, we have an unexpected natural disaster or flare up of the violence. So there's always that push for the urgency, which can be very overwhelming to donors. I think donors are overwhelmed globally, but with Haiti, it's a constant. So we're constantly trying to engage our donors in the long-term impact. in a way, this has been really an encouraging shift because what we see from our donors is that they are asking better questions. They're diving a little bit deeper into what we send out because we send out, as you know, a lot of educational material. So they're diving deeper into that. They're wanting to know
Mm,
where their investment is working. So I'm seeing this as a positive change, even though it is a challenge um, globally.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, that's interesting. We'll definitely dive into that more deeply here in a little bit. Lizzie, what are you and your clients seeing?
Yeah, just to add to what Lisa's saying, it is painful in the moment for some organizations, but I agree that it's going to make us stronger.
mm,
The fundraising is such a it's changed so much in the past year. I hopped on a Center for Effective Philanthropy seminar yesterday, and they shared some stats about 60% of CEOs say that it's more difficult to raise money this year versus last year. And
Mm,
Kimberly, you were talking about the increased need. I mean, they were saying that there's a 73% increase in demand for services, while
wow.
nonprofits, many have had to reduce their staff by 30%. So it all compounds. And then, having the capacity to do the work and think about the work a little bit differently and really, I mean, as a development person, I'm thinking about support for development and how an organization is positioning development and supporting that office and realizing that yeah, it's a development director, but that's a piece of the puzzle. Kind of getting that team together and activated is the name of the game right now.
Wow. Yeah, it's very interesting. Lauren, what are you hearing from your clients?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we're kind of hearing and seeing is major donors are staying fairly consistent and strong, especially the ones that have been invested for several years. But it's a lot of the kind of masses and lower mid-level that are really churning and not sticking around. They're in and out. Those are the folks that don't have a ton of extra disposable income to start with to be charitable. And so when times are a little more expensive and harder and things are lean on your budget, they're just not showing up. And it's hard to make up that difference in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're seeing that too in some organizations. 90% of the gifts are coming from 10% of the donors, the top 10%, which, you know, it helps you be more strategic in how you're spending your time if you're working in development.
right, right. But it makes that lost gift even more impact, more
Yeah.
hurt. It hurts a little more, right?
Yeah.
When you're losing that one of those 90% folks. So,
Yeah.
Daphne, what about you?
I don't think I have anything additional to share that hasn't already been shared. I do think that the underlying narrative is that today we're expected to do a whole lot more with a whole lot less. And that is a challenge. It's also an opportunity. And figuring out how to navigate those waters. I mean, I'm always encouraging my clients to be uh, open and honest, transparency. Like, if you're having to do more with less today, well, you better be telling your donors that. They need to know what you're facing, and full
Mm,
transparency is, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. Also, I do look at this as an opportunity for organizations to um, become more healthy, kind of like we all know as nonprofits that um, we shouldn't count on 100% grant funding, right? Like our models need to be diversified. We need to have healthy models of individual donors, corporate donors, federal funding, if and when that makes sense. But I do think that this shift and landscape is pushing our nonprofits to look on, tidy up shop, look on the inside and try to figure out, well, if we're counting too much on these grants, year after year, that's not sustainable. So we really need to spend focused, intentional efforts on our donors.
yeah. Well, one of those areas of philanthropy of donors is corporate giving, and I think Kimberly may have mentioned a little bit, but what are we seeing in corporate giving? Are they scrutinizing more what they're supporting? Do they have fewer funds? Kimberly, I know you all have some corporate donors that what are you seeing in those trends?
So this year alone, we are at about 1/3 of what we projected to
Hmm.
Hmm.
get in corporate gifts between
Wow.
corporate gifts and corporate grants. And fortunately, going into this year, we started to see that trend. We didn't expect it to be this dramatic. So we've had to shift a little bit. And so one of the pieces, our volunteer services team is taking an active role in making sure we're keeping those corporate groups engaged, even if it's just in the volunteer role right now, because
That's so
there's
clutch.
so much
Hmm.
uncertainty that if we can at least get a big group out to our farm, or if we can get them to do a packing event, that helps keep them engaged with our mission so that when there's not as much uncertainty, those corporate gifts can come back. And we're starting to see a little bit of it. But corporations are dealing with a lot of the uncertainty and the tariffs and different things that are going on too. So that's really our approach. And we've had to look at other ways to make up that lost revenue.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of those certainly as we go along. But Lizzie, what are your clients saying about corporate giving? Are they seeing similar trend? Is there and what are they doing about it?
Yeah, yeah, they're seeing similar trends, and I think, tagging on to what Kimberly was saying, there is a lot of uncertainty in the corporate space. There's a lot in the nonprofit space, but it's the corporate space too. And I
Mhm.
went to United Way is doing a series of power hours that I went to one recently, and they had three representatives from the corporate space up there just talking about to all of us in the nonprofit sector, helping us think about building relationships with corporations. And one of them said something that stuck with me and just kind of underscored what we try to share with our clients, and it's that remember that these corporate representatives, they don't really understand what we're doing, and not that they couldn't understand it, but don't assume that they know the impact
Mhm.
of what you're doing, why it's important, what would happen if your organization didn't exist. And it was kind of a good thing for me to hear and remember to, all right, we always need to back up and kind of reset and share the mission, share the impact, share the importance of what we're doing. And keeping that relationship and that conversation going throughout the year, not only reaching out when we're asking for a sponsorship for an event or a matching gift for a year-end campaign. Um, they also shared something that kind of surprised me. They said, we like to do kind of in-kind support for nonprofits in terms of capacity building. And they
Hmm.
named event support and marketing specifically as areas
Hmm.
where even if they can't write a check at the moment, they have the staff capacity internally to maybe help an organization come up with a marketing plan or help them think through an event, which I thought was fantastic. So it was kind of they were offering this as a resource.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're seeing the same trend, and hopefully it will reverse. And I think there's an opportunity now to really build those relationships and figure out where their interests and your mission really align for increased impact.
Yeah. Thank you. Lisa, I know Overture doesn't rely heavily on corporate donors, but you do have a number of large family foundation and others who may
We do.
think similarly to corporate donors. How are you? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I can't speak to corporate giving, but I can with our churches and our private foundations. I think they're very engaged, probably more so because they're more interested in seeing the impact of their giving. I think they are being more focused on engaging and building the relationship a little bit further so that the people that are contributing through them, they're able to report accurately and share the impact that's being made. So we haven't seen a negative side of that, but we have seen more engagement. And that's always a good thing for us because we
Yeah.
take every opportunity
Mhm.
to share more about Haiti and the work and the long-term goals.
Yeah. Lauren, how are your clients responding to this challenge, this downturn?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of our clients is on this call, Caritas, but we just kind of dug in into some corporate research recently, and there's also been some like subtle, kind of quiet tax law changes in how corporations can count or not count certain gifts as tax deductible, including sponsorships. So I think for organizations, typically larger ones, that are really giving to offset some sort of bottom line or to check a box. That's getting harder, but I think where the big impact might be is in kind of the smaller local businesses and really trying to build up local relationships instead of going after the giant, downtown skyline billboard names. So I think
Mhm.
that's an approach is kind of staying small, staying local. It's more work, it's more, hitting the pavement, but probably a more sustainable relationship.
Mm. Yeah, great point. Daphne, anything to add there?
No, don't really think so. Planning ahead and getting your requests in before they're building their budget. I mean, that's my best, on top of everything everybody else has already said, maintaining the relationship. I loved, Lizzie, what you said about finding opportunities. Like, and this would go for individual donors as well, but corporate, whatever, if they cannot give financially, there are still ways that they can give time, talent, and treasure, people. And so, however, we can keep them engaged, focused, passionate about our mission, up to date on all the things during these, seasons of uncertainty that will help us when we come out of those seasons, hopefully to, we won't lose the donors. It's the relationship, the full relationship we really want to be looking at. So figuring out ways to get them engaged. And if it's not financially, yeah, that's going to hurt this year, but think about long term. Don't just, count them out.
No, that's great. That's great. Speaking of donors, one of the things that we're seeing too is I think Lauren mentioned this specifically was that reduction in those smaller and mid-sized donors. How are you all looking at that? Are you just shifting your focus to major donors? Are you saying, okay, we've got to find and cultivate more donors? Donor acquisition can be a challenge. It's extremely consuming, time consuming, right, and resource consuming. What does that look like, Lisa? I know you have a strong base of those mid-level supporters. What are you doing to cultivate those to maybe bring more people into the fold?
Well, I'm having more intentional conversations with donors for sure. Because there is a growing concern. And again, my reference is Haiti, guys. So I'm always going to refer back to our landscape there. And it is a
Bless you,
growing
Lisa
concern.
Hyatt. Bless you.
But donors, have responded in the past to other NGOs or they've given to nonprofits and they've been discouraged by not having the impact that they've seen. So I think now that it's more challenging, people are more or they're seeking more transparency. They're asking those good questions. So I know for me, I'm being more intentional about staying in touch with our donors.
Hmm.
And it's really the dollar amount doesn't guide me. Those donors that are contributing monthly
Hmm.
are priceless to us.
Yeah.
Whether it's $25 or $200 a month. Those ongoing commitments are very valuable. So having those conversations and making sure that we're explaining what the challenges are, but also how we're navigating through the work.
Talk about that real quick, Lisa. One of the things, and I'm working on one right now, you do twice a month emails. You send
Yes.
out twice a year, you send out a newsletter, a significant sized newsletter, and that's a physical newsletter that goes out. You
Mhm.
also send regular annual report, impact reports, those sorts of things. So you're investing a lot in those communications and the rhythm and the frequency of those. you've done this for a long time. You've done this for, I think, the,
Yeah,
6 or 7, 8 years that we've been working with you. Why do you continue to invest that, and what impact does it have on donors?
because education is the key for us. An educated donor is an engaged donor, and they're
Mm,
committed.
yeah.
So we continually educate our donors, not just about what the crisis is. We try to keep a good balance on the reality, versus what our goals, our strategy, and the impact is.
Mm.
So that takes a lot of communication. And I know our donors, our emails are longer probably than the average. I've been told for years, hey, shorten it up, shorten it
I
up.
quit. I quit
Um,
saying that, Lisa. I'm a
We
believer
did.
now. I
We
drank the
did. We
Kool-Aid.
decided that is not a hill we're going to die on because Lisa knows her donor base better than anybody
yeah,
else.
and
At the end of
That's
the day,
right.
and
and
she
I
does.
don't have a marketing background, so hey, I'm a finance person, but I do know that people like transparency and they like honesty. And I think that is valuable to have trust with your donors. And the only way I know how to build trust is to be completely transparent and to educate why
Mm.
we do what we do, not what we do, but why we do what we do. And I think when donors really start engaging in that, um, education, more education versus less ask. So
Yeah.
our communications don't have strong ask. They focus on the education. So when I do ask a donor for that donation, they know it's serious. They know
Mhm.
it's time to invest. And we've had more success in that approach. But it's not a strategy that we said, hey, how can we get more donors or
Right.
more out of our donors? We want partners. We want them to be partners in our mission.
Mm,
We want them to learn and to invest in what they believe in.
yeah.
Mm.
That's
So
great. Kimberly, what are you seeing as far as that, kind of deeper engagement, or different types of engagement with your mid-level donors?
It's during our big campaigns, we run 3 big direct mail campaigns a year. And we are so grateful because Angel Oak we've started working with them about a year and a half ago on them, and we've seen the campaigns grow because, similar to what Lisa said, it's educating. We switch them from your typical direct mail campaign to that storytelling approach and giving those real life scenarios and taking it from just a direct mail piece to adding the digital components to it. So make not being afraid to make that ask in an email. But as Lisa said, educating folks. So we're fortunate that our team, it may just be on an iPhone, but they'll go out and interview a neighbor or go to a food pantry. And if we can include a video clip in one of our emails, that goes such a long way. And also, same thing, tagging it on our social, telling people our story. And I love what Lisa said. It's not every email or every communication shouldn't be an ask. Now, we'll have a soft ask in there. And if they
Sure.
click on a donate button, that's great. But it's more so letting them know the impact that they're making and why these services are needed so much. Another thing that we've done, we went back and looked at some lapsed donors, and we're talking 5 and 6 years ago when we
Wow.
um, relaunched our approach to our direct mail campaigns, and we've seen a significant number come back. And I think it really was that they were so tired of being asked, but they didn't know what they were being asked for or why
Mm,
they were giving. And so it's demonstrating the need and just being fully transparent, like Daphne said, with donors.
yeah. Daphne, talk about that. You and I both pushed back on Lisa originally about the length of the emails and other things, and then we became believers in information is power, right? And and again, it's about knowing the donor. It's about
Right.
knowing what your donors respond to. Lisa knows her donors intimately and very well, and we've come to understand that. But what's been your experience, working with different clients, and how do you engage those donors in education and conversation, without overwhelming them with information, and also without creating donor fatigue or things like that?
Yeah. That's a toughie because there's so much noise out there and it's so hard to communicate everything that we all think is important to communicate. I mean, there's just no way you're going to get people to read everything. I think regardless, though, it is important to uh, stay consistent. It's important to keep communicating on a regular basis
Mm,
whether they're reading or not, and our hope is that they are. One thing I would definitely encourage is any one of these organizations on the webinar today. Um, it's critical to know why your donors give. So we're preaching and telling you it's critical to tell them why they need to give, what the work is that you're doing, why it matters. It's also critical to understand why are they giving. So for Lisa, example with Overture International and Empowering Haitians, are it's her donor base. Is this person giving because they have an affinity to Haiti? Are they giving because they have an affinity to third world countries in general, to empowerment, to educate? What is it about your mission that is pulling at their heartstrings the most, and then lean into that. And how do you figure that out? Well, there's several ways you can do it. The simplest way is to ask the question, right? Ask the question of the donor, why is it specifically that you give to Overture International, to Interfaith Food Shuttle? If you cannot get them on the phone or there are not enough hours in the day to ask each donor individually, you can send them a donor survey. It could be 3 questions, right? And I would encourage you, if you ever send a survey out in the subject line, to mention like 2 minutes or less, something that gives the reader an understanding before they click that this is really going to take no time at all. But that information is valuable. I think that so it's important to stay consistent with your communication. I think um, yeah, consistency is the key, and then asking why they are giving. You really want to understand your donors, their affinity for your organization. What is it they're giving and why? What is it they're giving towards? Um,
yeah.
I don't know if I asked the question answered.
Yeah, you did. No, thank you. Thank you. We do have a question from Laura at L'Arche. Thank you. She'd love to learn more about the lapsed donors and how are
Hmm.
we reaching them. Lauren, do you have some insights of your work with Interfaith and the work that they're doing?
I think Kimberly, do you want to share some of the
Oh, go
stuff
ahead.
that we've done
I
there?
can, and Lauren, feel free to jump in. Really, what we did when we launched our back to school direct mail campaign, we went back a lot further than they had been going and reached out to any donor from 2018 up to current, including for the lapsed donors. And we sent them that direct mail piece. And then if we had an email, we followed up with an email. But I think what the difference was is it wasn't that direct mail piece that they were used, if they'd gotten it in the past, it was a
Mhm.
very personalized. And that was the other thing we working through Angela, we personalized that mailing to where it says, thank you for your past gift. So we had lapsed donor language on it and segmented it at our direct mail campaign. So like our major donors got one, our lapsed donors got another, and then just tailoring the message and follow up. And we didn't give up after the first one. It may have taken 2 or 3 more direct mail attempts,
Right.
but then they came back, and so then they were able to move to a masses or a mid-major or a major donor. Just this week, I got a lapsed gift of $500 from somebody who hadn't given since 2016.
That's
Wow.
And so and it
Congratulations.
was because we reached out to something we hadn't done in forever. We reached out to past board members, which
Yes.
some of them who had rotated off. And so a big part of our initial challenge was we didn't have great data. And so we're in the process of trying to clean all that up and get a better handle on our donor data. But
Yeah.
I think it's just tailoring the message. And then once again, that message was they were stories that were happening right here in the community. And I believe that lapsed donor email actually had a video attached to it, or I think it was a letter from a neighbor.
No, that's great. Lauren, talk about changing your mindset around that kind of communication. I think, and then also why 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 is the inclination to give up after one test, right? And how do you fight that to give it some time to work, right? Kimberly mentioned it didn't necessarily take on the first one, but that they kept at it. So if you can talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of got sort of an unwritten rule of thumb at most nonprofits or across the industry. Like, if someone hasn't given in 3 years, they're kind of just gone. So let's forget about them. Let's leave them behind. They don't care anymore. And that's not necessarily true. But I think one of the challenges, if you're doing a mailed appeal, I mean, every name you add adds a cost to send that out that the organization has to pay for. But with some kind of repetition, if you can get a couple mailers to them, some emails. I mean, I think, Kimberly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had 400 or 500 lapsed donors come back between the back to school and end of year campaign, which is huge,
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
that's
big.
incredible.
huge.
Wow.
And really, they just hadn't been asked in years. And I think, a lot of people were very generous during the COVID season, those that could be generous and could afford to give extra. Um, and we're giving a lot of one-time gifts places and then kind of just fell off the radar and they've now fallen off nonprofits' radar. And I think it's time for nonprofits to go back to some of those folks and kind of just say, to Kimberly's point, some segmented language. Since you last gave in 2020, did you know that we now serve 400 more people a month than we did 4 years ago? Like being able to kind of point back to since your last gift, a lot has changed. Here's the
Yeah.
increased need. We're inviting you to come back on and support us and rejoin the family.
Yeah. Lizzie, how are you hearing anything about lapsed donor outreach in your
You
world?
know, we track a lot of metrics, and I mean, I've had like been in the seat and recaptured lapsed donors, and it gives you a motivation to do it when you realize that, the retention rates are so low. And its overall retention rates now are 31%, which when
Wow.
you think about all that we invest every day in attracting these donors, and then you have this, to me, it's just dripping out of the bottom of our bucket. New donor retention rate is 14%. So there is definitely opportunity. And like Kimberly, y'all were saying, we put wording in the letter as a past donor. I mean, see those new donors and recognize that as a first time donor to our organization, your gift is making a difference. If you can get so the great space to be is if you can get people to give 3 gifts or more, their retention rate, I mean, it's kind of 60 to 80%
Mm,
chance that you will retain them. So the first time donors, treat them like first time donors and let them know that they're a first time donor and they're making a difference. And the communications piece, getting into that cadence like you all have outlined. And my recommendation, and I say this as a development person, Daphne and David and Lauren, you may have a different approach, but don't overcomplicate things. I mean, we all know so much and we're in this work all day
yeah.
long and we're passionate about it, but have some goals, have some meaningful goals that speak to your donor population. Establish those and be consistent. Track your progress to those goals and help people understand how they're helping you make a difference. And it's this education piece, because if people don't understand the need or they don't understand what you are doing in the space, it's hard for them to get really excited about it. So we track the numbers a lot, and we also think about whether it's a campaign or an annual appeal or just your donor base. There are these levels of donors. There's a group that you could probably ask for a gift tomorrow. The folks that you know really well. There's a group that you probably need to cultivate a little bit. And then there's a group that are maybe these far laps with the side bunt group. Some year they've given, but they need
Oh,
a
that's a good
little,
one.
yeah. Is
I
that is
like
that
that
is
one.
that old school?
Yeah,
I've heard
some
Libont, but I've never heard
Yeah.
Cybont.
Oh yeah.
Some years, yep.
Cybun is a thing.
Oh,
That they know you, but they need some more cultivation. So sometimes it helps development officers to think strategically in terms of those three layers of donors and customize the approach that will be meaningful to that one. And I'd add a fourth layer of those first time donors. Do
Mhm.
something special for them and really
Yes.
keep in touch, because if you can keep them, I mean, they've come to you. If you can keep them, they're really good things that will come out of
that's
it.
great. Lisa, I know we were just celebrating a return donor after a number of years. You stayed in touch. You know through data that they open your emails and that they read
Yeah.
some. Why do you maintain that outreach to people who haven't given
Well,
in years?
because a lot of people may have just given, as a crisis response, but that doesn't mean they can't be cultivated into a great donor and partner in the mission.
Mm,
So just like Kimberly, and the other advice that's been given, we do include lapsed donors in our mailers. But the other thing that I do that might be a little more might be helpful to someone, but I always ask you guys to send me, 25 to 50 extra letters when we
Mhm.
do a direct mailer. So these are letters that I will target certain lapse donors.
mm,
And I'll even write a
that's great.
personal note on this letter, send them an email with it attached or mail it, and ask if they're interested in having a conversation with me. Not really asking for them to give to this specific thing, but hey, I know you've given in the past. I'd love to have a conversation with you just to update you on where we are and see where your interest is. Um, we've had success at that, and that's just a matter of targeting with each mailer that we do.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that takes time, right?
Right. It's
It does
intentionality.
take
That
time.
takes time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But,
And I don't know where
you
Lisa
know,
finds all that time, but
Literally no clue.
she
Right.
does.
well, deep diving with just 10 conversations with someone can yield more than 1,000 generic messages.
Yeah.
So I truly
Yeah.
believe that
Amen.
investment of time, even if you only have time for five, there's been
Yeah.
weeks that five is all I can do. But it does
Yeah.
yield
Well, we have,
good results.
thank you. We have just not really a question from Terry, but Terry mentioned from a welcome packet, they have a welcome packet perspective or a welcome packet deliverable that they have to their first time donors, and then an engagement plan to stay in touch with them. Terry, do you want to share just kind of what you're experiencing there?
Yes, I just I've been with Housing for New Hope for about 2 years and noticed they didn't really have a great retention effort. So we put together a packet. It includes impact statement and our annual report and a little bit of swag and a welcome letter. And we send it to everyone, no matter the size of their gift. And we've seen some, they give again, and then we have an engagement plan built in so that we reach out to them about every 3 months with just a little bit of information, encouraging them to sign up for our newsletter at month 3 and then maybe at month 6, asking them if they've heard this story yet about a participant in our program. So we're just trying to stay top of mind for those folks, and it's helped. And just to mention what Lizzie had said about Cybunts and Libunts, we've had great success with Cybunt and Libunt efforts. You really can't give up on folks because you just don't know the timing of
Mm.
your ask. And
Right.
some things are going on in the community that make people go, "Oh, hey, yeah, I remember these guys, and they are doing good work." So, yeah. Anyway,
Well, thanks for thanks for sharing. No, that's great. I appreciate. I know I put you on the spot, calling on you, but
Can I throw something in real quick before I lose it? Because I do think that it's very valuable.
do it.
Okay, great. I would encourage everybody when timing permits, and you need to pick the right people to do it from, but be specific with your ask. Specific. If you're targeting a major donor, you know they've given the past 5 years at a certain level, and your hope is to increase their gift. I would encourage you not to simply ask for an increased gift, but to ask for a, in however you want to position it. If it's your 20th year, you could ask them to consider a 20% increase to their last gift of X. Tell them what their last gift was, or tell them the exact amount you are asking for. The worst thing that can happen is that they're unable to give at that level. But I mean, when people ask you questions, let's just say it's always better to ask. Don't leave anything on the table. Ask the question, and more times than not, you'll likely get a more positive response than you're expecting.
Yeah, but won't they
And
leave
maybe
money
the
on
ask
the?
is, would you please join our mission again with a gift of any amount? That would be to maybe a lapsed, right? Or maybe your ask is an increased gift of 10%. Or, could you give $500 this year instead of 250? Again, you have to know your donors, pick the right segment of people to ask specifically, and then ask them specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Kimberly, is there fear of doing that? I mean, is there do you hesitate to do you feel like you're leaving money on the table? Do you feel like you're not asking enough, or you feel like you're being greedy? What's your take?
Yeah, I tell my team all the time it is just as easy to ask for $5,000 as it is to ask for 50,000. So think big.
Amen.
We asked a donor once for $100,000 gift, and he laughed and he said, "I'm glad to." He was flattered that we thought he could give that big, but he'd never given. I mean, he was a chair of an event, and he'd never given more than $1,000. We asked for 100,000. He gave a $10,000 gift that year, so it got him thinking. So it's as Daphne said, it's getting to know your donors. But I think if anything, as fundraisers, we don't ask for gifts big enough.
Mm,
We think, okay, yeah, we just need to
Right.
ask for a 10% increase this year. But you know what? It's if you lead with mission and you talk to that donor about what the state of things are, and then you share what their previous gift was and ask them, we'd like you to consider making a gift this year. We really, I love to give it's 20th year, 20% or 20,000 or, you know, you'll know what's the right amount to ask. Or sometimes it's not asking for the amount, but the other piece of advice is it's okay to have silence after that ask. That's the best. It's the most uncomfortable thing in the world when you make that ask,
Mm,
and then you need to shut up because that doesn't
that's
mean they're
so
going to say
good.
no. But sometimes I've seen more often than not, somebody's like, I'd like to ask you for $25,000, and then it's silent, and then like, but if you'd rather only give 10, and it's like,
Right.
you know what? There's a really good chance you would have just gotten that 25 if you had just stopped. Let them respond to that.
Mm.
no, that's
And you
great.
should do, I also tell my team when we go into meetings, I want the donor or the potential donor to do 80% of the talking and you only do
Mm.
20%. Because find out what they're interested in, find out what they are looking for, because that's going to allow you to make the best informed ask. Because you may go in with one thought that this is the program they want to fund, and it turns out they tell you it's something completely different, and you have to be able to adjust and pivot right there on the spot.
Mhm. No, that's great advice. Laura Montgomery, I'm going to put you on the spot if you don't mind. You sent a little note saying that is it Durham Arts Council? Is that
Yes.
okay? Is doing has started doing phone banks with your board. I think most people would say, "How in the world did you get your board to commit to doing a phone bank?" They would love to know the trick there. And then how's that working for you?
Yeah, it's working well. And what we've done is time it alongside with our mailing. So they're getting a piece of mail that says, please give us money. But then we're calling to say thank you, to like invite them to some sort of upcoming event or invite them to Third Fridays, which happens every month in downtown Durham. But it's been working well, and I've really had some like lovely conversations with people on the phone. Sometimes they're really shocked to receive a phone call. They're like,
What do I
what do you
do?
need? What do you want?" Like I had one person literally say, like, "What do you want?" Um, but it's just been a nice way to like hear some stories. Like I learned about one person who was donating who was also an artist who has like rented our space and like performed in our space. And nobody knew that. So it's just a great way to catch people. And usually I'm not making an ask through these calls. I'm really
Mhm.
just like you guys said, just letting them talk, getting to know them, and the ask is in the mail. So the hard work is in the mail, in the mailing, and this is more of just like a stewardship moment.
Now, how did you get your board on board? How did you?
So our development committee is just they're
Awesome.
awesome. I don't know. They're really great, and I think it's just about knowing like who on your board would do well with this type of a, activity. Sometimes you have worker bees who like to stay more behind the scenes, and then you have some people who would rather take 30 minutes out of their day and make some phone calls. So it's just about knowing, I think, who on your board that would be a good fit for. So.
Now, practically, how many phone calls are we talking over the course of what period of time?
So what we do is we usually take our like scheduled development committee meeting time. So it's something that's on their calendar right off the bat when they start sign up for the committee. And I download our lists and then I let everybody assign themselves to whom they would like to call. Because sometimes people know people and they're like, oh, I
Yeah.
haven't spoke with this person in a while and I would love to call them. So we do it during a time that's already planned, and so there's no extra time that they have to allocate to this activity. And gosh, I mean, if even if only 5 people show up, and they make 15 calls, like that's way more than I could have ever done by myself.
Right.
Like
No, that's good.
way more.
Way more. Yeah.
It's been great and we're gonna keep doing it. And even if we just leave a voicemail, it's still just saying thank you, hope to see you, come by anytime. The building's open 7 days a week. Come see some art, come to one of our free events.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
so
that's great.
it's been
Thank
good.
you for sharing. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Lisa, you're a big proponent of phone calls. You spend a lot of t your time on the phone. Why do you invest that time?
Or emails. Emails are effective as well. So we kind of target some of our groups of donors, especially when we have a specific project or initiative that's happening. Sometimes it's a crisis with a family or a community, and we'll go to a specific group of donors with an email. Although I do try to avoid specifically asking for an amount from a donor. I'm probably less comfortable than than
Lisa,
all
yeah,
of
I'm
you.
sure you did not care for that. My advice.
I
So.
I I don't. But I do like being very transparent on what our need is.
Right.
Mhm.
So when I go to a small group through an email or I ask for a Zoom and we have a Zoom with a small group, I'll pull in one of our teammates and we will be very specific on what we need, what the needs are pertaining to that project or initiative or crisis. And our donors will respond to that. They step up. I believe that when donors are engaged with at that level of transparency, they will come to the need. They will come with what they can give when they know clearly what the need is.
Yeah. What, Lizzie, how important is that personal connection now, maybe as opposed to in the past or just relative to today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is paramount today. It's especially when you consider that, your top 10% of your donors are giving 90% of your gifts. And it's very donor centric. It's not the same for everybody. And we were talking earlier about figuring out what pulled somebody to your organization and what they're passionate about. And there's a saying that's running through my head as I'm listening to the conversation, and that I'm sure you all have heard. If you want money, ask for advice. And it's about getting a donor's buy-in and getting them to really help think through things with you. And Daphne was talking about being transparent, and Lisa really being honest about there's a transition, or we're having this challenge, or we're trying to navigate this to help them understand what you're trying to do, because I mean, they will have lots of great ideas. In our experience, big donors respond to big ideas. We are thinking
Mhm.
about big
Mm,
ideas all the time and coming up with these really creative solutions to challenges that we see in our communities. I mean, thank goodness, and through our organizations, they have a chance to be part of it. which is really powerful. It's not a sales transaction thing. We're building a relationship and we're giving you an opportunity to help us fulfill this need or help provide a service that would not exist if it wasn't for our organization. And early on in my career, somebody said, about the ask, Kimberly, when you make the ask, don't say anything. And they said, whoever speaks first loses, which was which was kind of funny because, a donor's not losing if they're
Right.
choosing to make a gift, but there are so many things going through a person's mind when you say, would you make a gift of $100,000 to help us do XYZ? They're thinking, gosh, do I need to check with my spouse? Do I need to check with my family? When can I do this? Can I do it like there's a lot of movement happening in their brain. They may be sitting there and you don't want to interrupt that is what I've come to appreciate. But
Mm.
yes, that let them think through that and ask questions, and that demonstrates a lot of interest. And I saw in the chat somebody said, no is never no. No is just not now.
Right.
That's right.
Right. No does not mean forever. I like that.
Right.
That was a great comment.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Good.
but the personal relationships are key. And there are ways that, short of asking a donor, you can kind of be observant and figure out how they're showing up, what they're interested in, what they're responding to, what events they're coming to. All of those kind of things help you put this picture together and then craft. It's even an individual donor strategy
Hmm.
for that person to help you figure out, okay, we need to let them know about this program we're doing or this update, or make sure we invite them to the event or invite them to this behind the scenes thing that they can't buy, but that you can provide this really meaningful experience for them. So there's a lot of cool things that nonprofit organizations can do that don't actually cost you a penny. It's just thinking creatively about what would be meaningful to that donor.
Yeah, I've heard strategy, I've heard plan, approach, all of those things talked about. Lauren, why is it so hard we get a lot of clients who come to us and they're kind of doing run and gun, right? They're doing the work every day, but there's no strategy behind it, right? And that's one of the things they come to us for is to help them shape that a little bit and to help them develop a strategy. Talk about why that is important, what you see when you work with clients who come to us and kind of are doing this just trying to keep up, right? And don't feel like they have the time to stop and develop a strategy or develop a plan.
Yeah, that's hard because I think most development directors, when they're dropped into a job, the board is ready for them to hit the ground running. And,
Show
here's
me
the
the
money.
money.
We hope you raise in the first 90 days. Good luck. Or,
You start if
we
you
used
don't.
to work for American Heart Association,
Right.
certainly bringing $1 million donors over to us. So I really think that, aside from being able to say something in an interview, I think your best approach is really educating your executive director, development committee, board, and really just telling them, like, I can be successful in this role. What I need in order to do that is a plan. Trying to build the plane while I'm flying it is not a great option. People are going to fall out. There's no oxygen masks. We haven't hired a pilot yet. Like,
Yeah, and
this
I'll
is
probably die
not,
in the process. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think being willing
Okay.
and able to advocate to those that be, the powers that be, that you'd like to pause for a few weeks, a month, and really put together a comprehensive plan that is going to strategically allow you, as the person in charge of development, to activate, strategies for different audiences, kind of a timeline for the year, figure out where board's going to engage, where volunteers can engage. And that will give, I think, whoever you're speaking to kind of the understanding that you've done the homework, you're capable to do this job, but you need a minute to make a plan. So I think it's advocating for that.
Yeah. It's yes. There's a lot of things I could say, but I will hold off.
Well,
What
David,
Oh, go
I'll
ahead. Go ahead, Lisa.
I'll say something. I mean,
Please do.
when I launched Overture, you know, I I knew that I needed good partners to help me become organized with marketing. Marketing is not my background. But I knew what the key messages were. I knew what we wanted to say. I knew how we wanted to say it. But I needed a good partner to help me organize that strategy. And that's what Angel Oak did for Overture. You helped me, we sought you out. You helped me organize that plan and that strategy, and that has really worked. It works for our donors too, because they know what to expect now that we've worked into a strategy and a plan. So our donors now, they know our Haiti Stronger campaign is coming, and they are planning for those one-time a year donors. They're planning for that. They know, okay, when we see the Haiti Stronger campaign, that's when we make our one-time a year donation. So they're planning based on that plan and strategy that we put together in that first year, and became, although we're changing what we're saying, we're changing the look, we may be changing something, but that plan has become something very stable for the organization and our donors. And it organizes my life as executive director.
Yeah. Well, and
One
yeah,
other thing to kind of loop in some of these ideas together, Lizzie, you talked about this, Lisa, you did too, but when you're thinking about planning and it can be a big undertaking, again, look at some of those folks that are corporate that have given to you before and are maybe slacking off, or that you've never been able to engage, and asking them to help, like who from your team, if anybody, would be interested in or able to help us facilitate kind of a half-day strategic working session. Or look at some of the foundations, the private foundations you're applying to, like, I think about John Rex Endowment, Kate B. Reynolds, like these folks understand the nonprofit world really, really well, and I think they would be pleasantly surprised if a nonprofit asked, would you be willing to lend some time to help us with some strategy ideation? And I think they would love to come alongside for that.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Uh, Kimberly, where does planning, do you plan to plan, or do you have what's your strategy to having a strategy?
Well, so it's interesting. When I came on in July of 2024, my second day, I ended up meeting with Angel Oak because we had a direct mail campaign that was going to launch. But I would love to say that we had the luxury of sitting down and coming up with the plan. But reality was that we had all these other things that had to get done. And if we were to fund our programs, we had to find money. And so it's taken us a little bit longer to be able to fully execute a plan, but we're getting there. The other piece to that is we've learned that sometimes you have to deviate from the plan and take a complete 180. And just this past a couple weeks ago, we were in the middle of our spring campaign, and we were 2 weeks in, and Lauren was great, and my communications manager who handles it. We realized donations were nowhere where they needed to be. And we had this great campaign and we had all the emails written. We got on the phone with Lauren one afternoon and realized this isn't working. And it goes back to being transparent. And we crafted a new email that went out on a Sunday morning of all times. That's our best email open day. And I would encourage nonprofits. I know the rule of thumb is Tuesdays, Thursdays. We have our best open and our best donation rates on weekend emails.
Wow.
But we sent an email, and the title of it was Letter from Our CEO. And it was a very clear look, times are tough. We made it, he was upfront and said, you know what, though, we have prepared for this. We are still standing. We are going to be there for the neighbors we serve. But if you can help right now, we really could use your help. But we also put in there, if you are experiencing hunger, if you are struggling, here's the link on how you can get help. We had our best online fundraising day outside of end of year ever with
That's
that
incredible.
one email. And
It was it was so well done.
But it was truly just a change in strategy. And it took convincing our communications team a little bit that, hey, wait a second, we have to retweak the rest of the emails that are part of this campaign. but being able to pivot made a big difference. So
Yeah.
we're working the plan, but we also sometimes have to take some side road trips.
Mhm.
No, that's great.
Right.
Uh, you want to talk to that, Lauren, at all? What that experience was like? And
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have a plan, but you can't be handcuffed to it. I think the other beautiful, am I frozen?
no, you're good.
Okay,
There you
great.
go.
Everybody else froze. The other thing that I think was critical, especially with that message from the CEO, it was honest, it was transparent, acknowledged the fact that donations are down and low. I mean, it did not hide that things were tough. And I think when we have the honor and privilege of working with anywhere from 60 to 80 nonprofits a year. We're on a lot of email lists, and AI is beautiful and it is a wonderful tool that we fully embrace. A lot of emails we're seeing are starting to sound exactly the same. You can almost take the logo off of it, remove the org name, and it's the same language across all these marketing emails. And I think the beauty of really, to Lisa's point earlier, being transparent with people and
Oh
just
no,
telling
you're
them the
frozen.
truth. We saw folks really show up for the food shuttle in a big way when we just told the truth and used their honest voice.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
I have one thought to add to the conversation about planning that we've experienced that, the plan, and it sounds obvious, but the plan gets everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
It's not just you as a development director, not just your development office. It's the entire staff at an organization, the board, and it helps people know how to and when to lean in and support the development director, or when to pull an executive director or a board member or board chair in for a visit. Just knowing what the landscape is and having it rooted in the strategies, whether it's a strategic plan or strategic initiatives, just further reinforces the path. Not that you won't ever pivot from it, but we have found in our work that when everybody has this shared understanding in the plan, it does help things run more smoothly. So if there's any additional justification that's needed for the plan, I talk about teeing an executive director up.
Mm.
This is somebody who you want to use very strategically and has a great impact. And when they're involved in the right conversations at the right time, the development team can do a lot of legwork, pre-meeting, post-meeting, all of that kind of thing to set them up. But when they're engaged, you want to maximize their time in that conversation. So just another advocacy statement about planning.
Well, it's hard. I mean, it's
Yeah,
we're
it is.
everybody's trying to do what they can do with limited capacity, limited resources, and
Yep.
sometimes the plan is feels like a bit much, right? It feels like you can't get there, but
Yeah.
we do
I would
encourage
say
that.
one
Go ahead.
other thing, real quick. A plan does not, just because you agree and decide we are going to have a marketing and communications plan, that does not mean it has to be 10 pages. It does not mean, I mean, Lord,
Right.
please don't let it be 10 pages. I mean, dumb it down to the 1 to 3 most critical, important goals that need to happen from marketing communications perspective this year. That could be the plan. It could get everybody on the same page. If everybody knows we're trying to increase our corporate donors, we're trying to retain 40% of our donor base, and we're trying to raise $1 million. Like those can be the 3 goals on your plan. And then it's how are we going to get there? How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
No, that's
worst
good.
kind of plan is a plan that sits there, collects dust, and is never used. So,
Yeah.
do not think you have to overwhelm yourself with a 10-page plan that no organization could accomplish.
Yeah.
It can be less is more, keep it simple.
Well, and we've talked a lot about how to bring new donors in. We talked a lot about how to bring lapsed donors back. Let's talk a little bit about how do we get to that. I think Lizzie was the one that mentioned that if you can get a donor to give 3 times, that you have a really solid relationship. How can we get to that second and third gift, right? How can we move from that one-time gift to the next gift? What does that look like? Lisa, you want to talk about how you cultivate your donors to move them from just that first gift to the next?
Just following up with them personally, whether that's an email or phone call, or inviting them to a Zoom. We've had a lot of success with that, especially a new donor. And if they are a new donor because they were a part of this group or they're associated with someone else, sometimes I will get another donor to contact that first time giver,
Mm,
and ask to join a Zoom meeting. It's always very helpful to when they attend a Zoom meeting. We have some of our team from Haiti on that call, so they're meeting the people who are actually doing the work on the ground.
yeah, that's powerful.
Um, it is, and our Zoom meetings are not very organized. They're open, so it's a discussion, and it's finding out, hey, teaching them about our mission, but also learning a little bit about their life and why they are interested in supporting our work in Haiti. So getting to know that donor on a more in a group setting has been really successful in keeping them engaged and then knowing what programs that they're most interested in. Um, but again, just that personal communication is the biggest strategy of all. So,
Yeah, I'm not saying that. Kimberly, what about you all at Interfaith? How do you move them from that first gift to the second to the third?
I will say we have not done the best job. Well, just
Thank you for being
I think.
transparent.
Well, I was
Sure.
going to say, I'm sure as many people on this team or on this call, there are only so many resources, and sometimes that donor retention, donor cultivation doesn't get the priority it needs, even though it is much easier to get a donor to give again than it is to always have to find new donors. We have plans in place. We do our traditional, thank you letters. We all first time donors get a handwritten postcard from a volunteer that has written it, welcoming them, but we haven't done as much as we'd like. We are embracing technology. One of our barriers has been we don't have a great database that tells us who's a first time donor or who's a
Oh, yeah.
volunteer. So we are in the process of updating that, and starting in July, we'll have a new system, and it has some automation. So
Mm,
it will be able to send that welcome email. It will be able to send the reminder to the development manager or to our CEO, here's a new donor, or here's a donor that just gave a gift or increased their gift. Would you make a phone call? So we're going to rely on some of that automation to streamline so that we have more time freed up to do some of that. We did last year put in a new giving society for our major donors, which Food Shuttle has been around for over 35 years, and we'd never had that. So trying to look at more cultivation activities, and just community events, things like that. But it's a work in progress.
well, we appreciate that. Lizzie, how you talked about this already a little bit, but how do you move people up that ladder a little bit, or how do you move them into a deeper relationship so that they give again?
Yeah, I kind of look at it as this, 90-day window, kind of this 3-month window after their gift, which I mean, 90 days sounds like a lot of time, but I promise it's not. But having a chance to show the impact that their gift made
Mm,
before you ask them again. And it will look different for different donors based on what they're supporting and the magnitude of their gift. But creating this sense of belonging, that they belong at your organization. I mean, in every interaction, helping them understand that they're a part of your success and you need them along the way. So it's very intentional, it's very individualized. And I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, how are there enough hours in the day? But like focusing on that top level and being very individual there, and then kind of segmenting your group after that. There's usually a natural cutoff, whether it's $10,000 or $1,000 or 500. But customizing the message when you can,
yeah.
using things like their name, their past gift amount. Lots of donors do not remember when they gave their last gift, the amount it was, what it was. So, reminding them and then helping them understand their impact and the need to do more, and it's all these things that come together, bringing those goals in. Here are our goals for this year, and these are the external ones. Here's the progress we've made so far. We hope to achieve this. We need your help to do it. So it's this art and science. It's this mix of having a more individualized approach for higher level donors, but then being very intentional about each level and amount kind of going down from that, but really being donor centered in your approach. It's, you need things, but people help people. They're not answering your need. It's how can they help somebody who needs something through you is,
Yeah.
we all that resonates with all of us. We're people.
Well,
Hmm.
that's great. Well, we're going to start to wrap up a little bit here. I'd love to get from the panel, um, what's the one takeaway, the one piece of advice that you would give our audience about how do you deal in this new climate? How do you succeed in this new climate? And what does that look like? So I'd love to hear each of you give just that one piece of advice, one suggestion that maybe people can take away today. Daphne, we'll start with you since I seem to put you last on all the other ones.
Oh gosh, please. Okay, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question? Daggone it.
Oh, that's okay.
Literally the first time I tuned out, and it's right when you said, I'm not even going
It's
to try
all
to
right.
fake
I
it till I
won't
make
I
it.
won't take it
But,
personally.
sorry, say that one
No,
more
you're
time.
good. Yeah, just what's one takeaway? What's one piece of advice that you would want people to make sure that they heard today to succeed in this climate?
Be fully open, honest, transparent with your donor base, what you're going through, what you're facing. If you guys are facing a $500,000 deficit because you lost grant funding, tell your donors that exact thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be just full transparency.
No, that's great.
Because, like Lizzie said, at the end of the day, we're people. Like, if somebody has the means to give and you pull at their heartstrings and you compel them in the right way, they will help. So,
No, that's great. Lisa, would you like to share your
Yeah.
wisdom?
I think treat your donors like mission partners,
Mm,
mm,
investors versus givers. Um,
mm,
Start your communications with an attitude of gratitude. Always, that's my my
that
thing.
is your
Uh,
golden rule, isn't it, Lisa? You are
that is the
always
golden rule here.
yeah.
you.
But be personal. Be honest, transparent. Have a personal connection as much as you can. Even if it stretches you, just to have
Mm,
a few personal conversations each week is critical.
Yeah. Thank you.
that's
Lizzie,
great.
what's your
Yeah,
words of
in
wisdom here?
this time of what can feel like scarcity, I find it inspirational to focus on abundance. Having
Mm,
the abundance mindset and thinking about challenges in reframing challenges, oh, it's just so hard. Thinking about them, we can if we do these things. It seems like an impossible goal, but let's break this down. We can reach this $100,000 goal for sponsorships for our event if we activate the development committee, if we assign prospects, if we reach out to, if we add benefit, all those things. So just really
that's good.
don't be trapped in a scarcity mindset. Think of things in terms of abundance, even if it feels scarce at the moment. Change your mindset, evolve your thinking around that.
Yeah.
And one client said to me recently, you take air for granted until it's gone. And I
Mm,
thought, wow, that's a pretty dramatic statement, but we can all relate to it. I mean, if the
yeah.
services that we were providing were gone, they would be missed. So kind of help donors understand that there may be things that you are doing because you are doing the good work, but it requires their participation and financial support. So don't let it disappear.
Well,
Hmm.
thank you. And just for folks still on, we will have some time for questions after we get through this little this round of advice of takeaways. If you're able to stay on and you have some questions, we'd love to have you. Kimberly.
This is something that was told to me many years ago, and I think it still holds true. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable
Mm.
Mhm.
because there's always going to be that next challenge. And so you just have to adapt.
That's good.
Thank you. And Lauren.
I think I would probably challenge everybody to put some time, effort, tools around new donor retention. Lizzie, I think you said it's around 13% right now, which that's a
Wow.
really rough number. And I think if
Mhm.
you considered spending the next 6 to 12 months as invested in each new donor as you are in major donors and major donor prospects, it'd just be interesting to see what comes out of that because I guarantee a lot of those new donors are majors hiding right in front of you.
That's
Good,
good.
good
Real good,
suggestion.
Lauren.
Well, that's great. Yeah, for me, my advice is yeah, just stay focused. I mean, I think we get distracted so easily today. We there's a lot going on, and whether it's shiny objects or whether it's the next crises or whatever that happens to be, trying to stay focused and trying to really lean into what are your priorities and what are your goals, what are your objectives that you're trying to reach. That doesn't mean to be intractable or to not pivot when you need to pivot, but more so don't get distracted by, the next shiny object or the small thing, but really stay focused because I've seen so many clients get distracted and take their eye off the ball and it's really hard to recover from those things. So thank you for that. Thank you all for those words of wisdom. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody right on that. I'd love to open it up to questions. If anybody on the call has any questions, we would love, or if you want to share your experience or advice as well, things that are working for you, we would love to hear that. I'll give a few minutes of silence and then we will wrap up.
It's like waiting for the response after a donation ask.
I
Sit in
know.
I
silence.
would like to add, this is Sharice
Oh,
with
hey,
Scale.
Sharice.
Hi, and
Hello.
we're a bit of a different organization as well as how we approach donations. But I had gotten a telephone call earlier, and I was attempting to put something in the chat to Lauren when she was mentioning about the call out around donor solicitation. And David, you continue to drill her on how do you get your board members to sit still and do that. And of course, the telephone call distracted me, and I couldn't even remember what was I typing, what was I typing. But it's come back to me. And Lauren, we've had that a similar experience. While we have not done a telethon per se, our development committee is a newly developed committee that we've put in place in the last 6 months or so, and it is a subcommittee of the board of directors.
Yep.
And we're finding we're getting so much more committed work, more
Mhm.
traction, and more dedication, primarily around why we have a development committee in the first place and those board members who have volunteered to serve in that capacity strive to meet their goals. They're setting the fundraising goals. So, of course, it's easy to pull them in to say, help with this, put us in touch with, some of your partners and so on and so forth. So, I just wanted to say that if you
Mm.
have development committees, that's a way to kind of carve out those really committed board members who
Yep.
want to go that extra mile and support you in whatever you're doing. And they come up with great strategies of their own. They are
Yep.
brought to the table donors that we can potentially, or businesses that we can call on by them in their capacity and their roles that they have relationship with to they get us in the door. So that's
That's
been
awesome.
a great plus as well. And I just wanted to say, go.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
awesome,
thank you.
Sharice.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Yeah, it's adding capacity, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's that's the biggest one of the biggest challenges for any organization. You got, capacity and budget, right? Those, when we talk to an organization and I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I think, 99% of the time it's, we've got to add capacity. We don't have a big budget, right? So, what does that look like? How do we work within that? So thank you, Sharice, for
Thank
sharing
you.
that.
I'll say development is a team sport,
Yes.
across the organization, and really creating that culture of philanthropy to help everybody know the role they play, whether they're creating awareness, meeting people through programs, capturing stories that will help demonstrate your impact. It is a team sport. And that development committee is a big piece of that team. And having them, I've worked with development committees where there was some question about what's our like dollar amount, like what are we focusing on, and it really elevated the thinking when we all agreed we're going to focus on $25,000 plus gifts and conversations and prospects. It got everybody out of the more annual gift, and we love those annual gifts, but it really got that committee thinking big.
That's great.
So,
Maddie Roberts, I saw you come on. I didn't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I didn't know if you had something you wanted to share. So I wanted to give you that space if you did. If not, that's okay.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt people while they were sharing, and then I couldn't figure out how to turn on my camera. I'm joining this call on my
You're all
phone.
good. Yeah.
But, anyways,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
Maddie. Nice to meet you all. I work for a nonprofit called Prison Alliance,
Oh, yeah.
and I just recently started as the development coordinator. And so,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. Very new to the whole world of fundraising and being a nonprofits. So I actually wanted to ask, what is y'all's best advice on how to not burn out in this type of role, or to like protect your well-being and your humanness while doing this sort of work?
Ooh.
I just find that as a young person who's never done it before, I'm watching a bunch of people who are professionals that have done this for a long time. And I'm like, I don't know how you've sustained this. And I don't know how you're taking care of yourself as a professional, because it's really hard work. So I just was curious if y'all had any advice on that.
No, that's a great question.
That's a
You can't
great
do a whole lot of
question.
fundraising if you're burnt out, right? So Kimberly, you've been doing this a while. What's your advice?
Maddie, first of all, I totally feel you, and I've been in your shoes. And especially when you first started it and you're like, what did I get myself into? And I think it is important to understand or to recognize that you're not going to get it all right away. And I think that every nonprofit I've worked for, the rule of thumb is once you make it 3 years, you're hooked, because the first year you feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. And there's a little bit of ignorance is bliss.
Right.
And then by the second year, it starts to click. And then by the third year, it's like, wait a second, I've got this. Not to say that it's going to take 3 years, but it's just give yourself grace. And it is important to find that work-life balance, because you know what? There is always going to be that donor that's going to call you. There's always going to be that next project. And there's never going to be enough time to do everything. And even in my role, having done this for 25 plus years, I still find myself days going, okay, I had 17 more things on that checklist. So it's okay to look at what is that priority today. The other piece of advice I will give you is, if you're having a rough day, reach out to a donor, reach out to somebody, go talk to somebody who's been impacted by your mission, read a story, because that's what re-energizes you. When you can bring everything back to the mission, that
so good.
really makes a difference. If I'm having a rough day, I'm going to go over to our Malone Center and see what they're doing, or go out to the farm, or pick up the phone and call that donor who has given the gift. And somebody said earlier, my favorite thing in the world is to make thank you calls, because people do truly act like you're crazy. You mean you're not asking me for something? No, I'm reaching out to say thank you because you gave this gift, and I'd love to know why. And then you hear the greatest stories. So that helps ground you.
No, that's great. Well, we do have to wrap up. Maddie, thank you for that question. And when we send out the email, or send out the follow-up email with the link and all that stuff, if the team is okay with it, maybe we can include some emails in there that people could reach out if they have other questions. That would be great. Thank the panel. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your commitment. for being here for good. That's our theme right now with Angel Oak is here for good. We want nonprofits to be here for good for a long time, for as long as they're needed anyway. And at Angel Oak are here for good as well. We want to be here and to support you. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for everybody who listened either early or stayed on. So thank you for that. And we will share this and look forward to seeing you down the road. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Appreciate you
Thank
all.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.